like hot or oh, nice to meet you. Yes, very nice to meet you. I've been to go to the bar. Which one? Oh. Yeah, so I worked with Vicky for a while. I work at Flesh and Starch. Yeah. Now Malcolm was the dad. Right? She married his son. David. Oh, she's so Vicky. Protection table. I said, you go sit over there at the witness protection table in case you got to make any mistakes.
Okay, can I have your attention? Okay, can I have your attention? Good evening, I'm Bob Alexander with the Area Plan Commission and the President for the Area Plan Commission here tonight. We also have our Executive Director, which is Benny Barton, who's also our Zoning Administrator for the Vermillion County. We have John Moore, who is a member of the Area Plan Commission. Joe Ellis, who's a member of the Plan Commission. And then we have Ron Mack. I wanted to first start off with who we are.
I'll start my timer. You got 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. You got to give me a little bit of this. Because this is whole new for us, and it's probably new for some of you out there. I've been to a lot of town halls. This is not a meeting, so I have to make sure we follow proper town hall protocol. We are an independent commission, because I've had a couple people already ask, who is area plan? We're an independent commission made up of private citizens with neither legislative nor administrative authority, legally mandated group, also who drafts a comprehensive plan, a zoning ordinance, or subdivision ordinance. Nowhere did it say wind energy ordinance. So you just kind of bear that in mind, but it is the wind ordinance would come under your zoning. We are in no way the approving authority of establishing wind farms in Vermillion County. That is up to your elected officials. That would be actually your commissioners. We have started creating an ordinance back in August of 2020 when the developer reached out to the county and was going to look at developing wind and solar. Now, some of you, to let you know that we take our appointed positions seriously. We have been meeting, and we are on our 5th amended draft of an ordinance. We've had meetings weekly. We have invited, our meetings are always advertised. Our meetings have always had a representative from the developing company there, which is no secret, is Apex. And we've also had people who are against it show, and we always kind of give them the respect and allow them to speak while we're doing these meetings and workshops. Before we finalize this ordinance, we will have a public hearing. The public hearing is where you would want to really stress no against wind ordinance or for against wind ordinance. We have to have a public hearing before we can even take it to a vote amongst the area plan. Once we take that, there's only two things we can do. We can either pass it favorably as a group or unfavorably. After that, if it's unfavorable, we have no authority. All we do is send it to the commissioners, and the commissioners will vote yes or no. So just kind of keep that in mind tonight and as through the process. This is, again, a town hall meeting. It's not a meeting. It's a town hall meeting that we all thought it was very important so that, because it's kind of unique, it's new to a lot of people in Vermillion County, that we get your input into the ordinance that's for wind farms. If you've been keeping up with our neighboring county in the other state of Illinois, you'll notice they passed their wind farm ordinance, but that wind farm ordinance has the key thing to what they approved the ordinance on was the setbacks. Setbacks are the crucial. In the state of Indiana, we just cannot go out there as an area plan and say no to wind ordinance. We cannot do that. We have to be bipartisan on this. We just cannot favor one or the other. So with the setbacks in an ordinance is what tells the developer that's looking into your county if they can either do this or if they can't. So it's all in your setbacks and your cities. Those are the key factors in the ordinance. So we have put together a draft ordinance we're hoping to look at our next meeting with putting the input from the public in there, what their recommendations for the setbacks are of the city, or you prefer to call that, or any other kind of strengths you might want in that ordinance. I mean, any county ordinance is as good as the residents of the county. If the county isn't on board and you just make an ordinance and the county residents didn't have an input, then we I got 1 minute. But I just want to make sure everybody's clear of this ordinance. That's why we want you to do. Gave you a copy, look at the copy. We have don't allow everyone to speak that wants to speak. We may not have all the questions, but we have talked to hundreds of people, material, and studied this. So we might be able to have an answer for you. All I ask, give each other respect. When you come up to the microphone, you please come up to the microphone because we won't be able to hear what your input is. So please step up to the mic. We'll allow you to get up here. We know some of you, it'll take a little while to get up here, but that's okay. Respect each other. There's no right or wrong answers in tonight. It's a town hall. It's a free time to come and really just talk about it. If anybody has no other questions, we'll go ahead and kick it off. We'll give you a few minutes, and if you want to look over the ordinance, because that's the key thing, is the ordinance. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to let you.
Oh, thanks. So, does anyone want to be the first to speak? Right on up, Crystal. I'm going to set that timer, that buzzing sound. All right. That's your 5 minutes.
I might not need the whole 5.
That's fine, too. So, give your name and then we'll go.
Okay. My name is Crystal Lake, and this is something that I've been interested in pretty much since I was in high school. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm in my 50s now. I know I don't look it. And I've always come from the green side. I'm a greenie. I'm all about the environment. It's not about politics or anything to me. And I just want to share with you guys all real quickly. I don't know what different people we have represented here, but one of our commissioners, Luther Britton, came to my house campaigning. And we stood on my porch and talked for a good half an hour. He didn't know my stance. I didn't know him. I didn't even know if he was a Republican or a Democrat. But we got to talking about alternative energy. And he told me so many things about the hazards of it. What was bad? This is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Well, as a person who has always been interested in it, I went and looked up all the things he told me. So I stand here before you all today and say, yes, there are problems. There are hazards. There are issues. I don't think they go any deeper than strip mining or the use of fossil fuels, and I'll just tell you that. When it comes to environmental concerns, I think the point's pretty moved. But I encourage people to do that. If you're not on the side of it, read about the good things, just like I read about the bad things, because I'm not so concerned about the politics of it as I am about the environment and what it does for us. So I come at it from a stance that whatever we do, let's be careful. Let's don't go into this like we did the Dust Bowl and coal mines and all this other crap. So I started doing some research today, and I saw that a lot of the European energy programs who've been doing this for 20 years or so have been looking into recycling the waste, getting rid of it. They've got a plan to go to 2025. They're looking at making a commitment to making these things more feasible environmentally so that they're not going to landfills. I'm sure you all know, you've done a lot of research there, about 90%, these wind towers are about 90% recyclable from the get. The issue's the blades. And so they're finding out they're made of fiberglass and some polycarbonate something. I don't know. And they are finding ways to break them down. The problem is the recycling community hasn't really caught up yet, and the business community hasn't really caught up yet. But they are working on all those things. So anyone who has environmental concerns, I encourage you to look into that. Because I really, really believe this is the most viable option that we have. And it's going to happen. It's already happening. It's happening all over the country. It's happening all over the world. And that's because Fossil fuels are not infinite. It takes millions of years for coal to form. Millions of years. Once we deplete it, it's gone. We know that. We've known that for a long time. And I'm so grateful to Bob and the Area Planning Commission and everyone who's made this happen, because it bothers me that this decision comes down to a group of 3 people, 2 of which I know are vehemently opposed to it, and I don't really even think they know that, you know, they're not experts. We've heard a lot from experts in the community that I think know a lot more about that, and I just encourage everyone to listen to them. Listen to what economic benefits it can bring. Demand that, you know, up front, negotiate your contracts. Say, hey, I don't care if you put it here, just make sure you take it out when it's gone, and I want it disposed of properly. You can do that. I'll help you do that. I work for lawyers, they'll be happy to. I think that's all I have to say. How many minutes do I have left, Penny, in case I want them at the end?
43 seconds.
All right.
Anyone else? Oh, you go home early? That was funny. Thought I'd try to go home early.
My name is Nancy Hogan. I'm from Hildreth, Illinois. I've been at this for a decade. 9 years ago, I was her. I was wrong. Go to Douglas County. Come down my road. I'll take you on a tour. It is the most ungodly disaster I've ever seen. And I have been to the largest in the nation wind project. It is at the border of Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. I went there 5 trips last summer. I've gone out there and helped pulverize the place to put up platforms. You're being fed a lot of lemonade, and it's not even spiked with anything good. So this is what I can tell you. I'm not paid to be here, but when they have their hearings, they pay people $250 a piece to tell you what they want you to hear. They're my former students, a lot of them. They read these flowery things that I know they didn't write because I had them in school. This is a travesty. They started out 9 years ago. Scott Kozer is now one of their international guys. Nice person. But now they have turned into these multifaceted companies, which is a huge octopus. It's global. And these companies come and go, and they have tentacles. They are the tentacles of the octopus. They came into Douglas County. They've never paid one payment. They've never lived up to one thing on their agreement. I'm a 3rd-generation farmer, and I go out in my fields. They have destroyed the drainage. They have destroyed the roads, and when they have been asked to do anything about it, they send a guy out once a week with a water truck that makes the dust into mud. When they said, well, you need to live up to this, they laughed and they said, we have more money. We have a federal mandate, and we have more lawyers, and they laughed at them 2 weeks ago. I've had a MGTAR on my ground. I wrote what they said was the best written lease agreement in the state of Illinois at that point in time. I hosted the public meetings. I know these same people with these same companies. They were lovely to work with 9 years ago. Now they won't talk to me and they won't show me anything. I looked every single parcel of ground up for them and delivered it to them so that they wouldn't miss anybody when they approached landowners for agreements. State legislatures now want to change things so that your zoning people have no teeth and they can't zone. They're not going to tell you that. They say, oh, you're going to get all this tax money. The tax money in your state legislature has a deadline with no plan to renew it. I've had talked to every major landowner, and I'm talking people like Jimmy John of Jimmy John Sandwiches that buy thousands of acres with a farm team all the time. They are not interested in buying anything, 1 acre of anything that has wind on it. They'll give you money up front. The value of your farm ground will go from 10 grand an acre down to about 4.5. Now what's your county going to do with that kind of tax base? We have turbines that aren't a year old with oil socks hanging off of them and no one's coming to fix them. I have 3 states out west, Wyoming's the latest, will not take any more blades because they said it doesn't matter. There's nothing they can do with them to recycle them. I got that from the head of their company. This goal is basically to make it so that your state legislature has said, ours tried to do it last week and it didn't go through, but it's not going away. They want to give these wind and solar projects the same rights as a utility company because the largest in the nation was the first one put up by a utility company that I spent my summer with last year. That gives them eminent domain. They can come on your farm with their equipment day or night and do what they dang well please and destroy it. And once you put these up, decommission, that cement is there forever. You can't get rid of it. But the drainage, hydraulic water problems we've had, if you're not in the project and it bursts your tile, you know what it's like to do burst tile. At least I know. I have to hand do it because you can't get people to come out and fix it. It's at your expense. If you don't sign on with the project, one lady had nothing to do with anything, but her family didn't sign on. They purposefully spent extra thousands of dollars to put a utility building with huge lights on it to shine in all her bedroom windows of her and her children, just to be nasty. Yes, Edgar County has an ordinance because we have to, but not one person wants this there. Be careful. Be careful.
Who's next? No rhyme or reason. Go ahead, sir.
I'm gonna take my feet.
If I don't last 5 minutes, I'm John Kraft, Edgar County Watchdogs. I'm just going to tell you a story. Several years ago, a couple of years ago, we were looking at the process that wind companies use to convince the local boards to pass ordinances that are in their favor. And one in particular was I did a Freedom of Information Act request to a school district for any contracts or agreements that they had with wind companies. The superintendent was, and other counties and other school districts, they were all going to meetings and telling everybody how good the payments were going to be and that they were going to receive from the wind companies. So I was like, something's going on here. So I got a copy of the agreement with, I believe it was Mount Pulaski School District in Logan County. I think it's in Logan County, Illinois. And part of that agreement, everybody sees a school board member or a city councilman or a school superintendent speaking in favor of something. They tend to think that they truly believe what they're saying. And what the contract had in it was, it listed the payments, and as a condition of the payments, the superintendent and the school board, for the life of the payments, which would be, a couple generations, and, you re-elect school board members every 4 years, for the life of the payments, they could not speak against wind farms or wind energy. And if asked to go to a public meeting, they had to go and speak in favor of wind energy. What were the consequences if they spoke against it? Say 2 school boards down the road, 8 years later, the contract or the agreement spelled out that the wind company was to get back every penny that they paid the school district. So you're talking, 2 boards later, you're muzzling the people on those boards. And at least one superintendent later, you're muzzling that person. for payments that, might be approved today or this year. What is it, 2021, so 2031, 2041, those people, if they still do those contracts, and I don't know if they do or not, I'm pretty sure that they would be doing them. If they're still doing those contracts, 2031, 2041, those board members and those public officials essentially have their voice muzzled because of a little bit of money. That's all I have. Thanks.
Who's next?
I'll take my 43. I say Jimmy John's might not be for it, but Google, Intel, Wells Fargo, like lots of major companies are 100% green.
I haven't known you Clinton folks to be shy, so come on now.
Thank you. My name is Kirk Allen. I'm co-founder of the Edgar County Watchdogs. I want to just give you a brief background from a personal standpoint as a farmer, as someone who was approached, as someone who had a contract in hand. I was also an elected official. I was a township supervisor. And when the wind folks came into our township, we were tasked with creating, zoning for that issue. I'm not here to speak for or against. The wind farms, they're going to go up somewhere. And there's a lot of things that we have to look at. And the first and most important, and I'm assuming, is this like a VFW or something? I see the support our troops and some of the memorial up there. Is that what this building is?
It's a city community center.
Community Center. City Community Center. How many veterans in here? How many believe in your First Amendment right? Okay? When I was provided a contract, and I pray that I don't go over 5 minutes, and if I do, please give me more time. When I saw the contract, it had a gag order in it. I wasn't allowed to disclose the contents of the contract. As a veteran, I can tell you that's troubling, because my free speech rights should never be revoked under any circumstances. And if I'm dumb enough to sign it, I'm dumb enough to live with whatever consequences of that action. There's a message there. So I chose not to. I wasn't against wind. I thought it was a great viable option for some entities in some places. But one of the things I found, and I'm glad this is a community center, in the last 10 years of investigating local government actions from all aspects, there's one thing that was a common denominator everywhere we saw wind. It created the most unbelievable division in communities. It broke friendships apart that had been there for years. And I don't think you can put a price on that. I've seen neighbors literally ready to fight over whether or not they're going to have a wind farm. And a lot of times without having anywhere near the information to make a good decision. So I would emphasize a lot of homework. What I did in our township as a supervisor is we put together, under Illinois law, and granted Indiana's laws are different, we put together a zoning commission. And we did our homework for over a year. And we researched. We researched what's going on overseas, what's going on here. And we established a wind ordinance that we believe would grow with the industry. On the issue of setbacks, we set our setback based on rotor diameter. As the rotor diameters got bigger, naturally the setbacks got further. You didn't have to come back and re-adopt a new ordinance and have this fight over and over. The lady had mentioned Douglas County. 2 townships in Douglas County did the same thing we did. The wind farm lobbied, and they ran legislation through our state representatives in Springfield. And they changed the zoning authority and stripped townships of the power they've had for literally 75 years. They took it away from us and said, nope, we're going to let the counties decide, nobody else. Now the municipal league lobbied, and they got a 1.5-mile setback from the community. I noticed in your ordinance proposal you have, I think it was a mile. In Illinois, a village or a municipality can actually adopt a 1.5-mile setback. Well, that 1.5 mile was an interesting tell to me. There are things that happen with wind, all kinds of variables, but you're dealing with some of the basic things of shadow flicker, noise, This, different things affect different people. How many in here have hay fever? Okay, for those that don't, you're lucky. When you talk about the impacts of wind, there's some people that low, ultra, I forget the term that they give it, but there's a harmonic sound that's created that really impacts some people. Others don't even notice it. But it does have impact. So all of these things we took into consideration and it was taken from us. Now, those same lobbyists are trying to ram in an energy bill in our state that takes all of our authorities for setbacks away from us. This isn't just a local problem, folks. And I'm saying from a standpoint of we have got to get control of what's going on with our elected officials. We have got to find the balance that doesn't destroy communities, but at the same time recognizes there are some other options. I'm not against other alternatives, but I travel all over the country in my other business, and I can tell you, there's a lot of open space that's not going to divide neighbors. A lot. A whole lot. I believe it was in Vermillion County, Illinois, and I don't remember the total number, but for those farmers that are interested, may I close out with this? Thank you. The one thing that was very interesting was the number of property owners that had liens put on their properties when the wind farm companies refused to pay the tax. Let me say that again. They didn't pay their property tax, so there were liens put on those farmers' grounds. That means they can't sell their ground until that lien is paid. And some of those went right up to the date of tax sale before the wind farm company would pay it. That means every unit of government was short that money until it was finally paid. In Illinois, our wind farm tax has a sunset, meaning at the end of this year, they don't renew it. There's no more assessment process for our wind energy. As far as solar, we have no assessment process in Illinois for commercial solar, only for private solar. I don't know what you have here in Indiana, but the tax issue is a big one. You don't want to sunset it there. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jim Allen. I'm from Newman, Illinois, just outside of Footprint. I was the mayor when they came into town. I have nothing against an industrial wind complex. That's one thing I'd say right now. It's not a wind farm. I don't care if it's Unicorn Ridge or anything else. It's not a wind farm. They're really nice things. It's an industrial wind turbine complex. Don't forget that. I was not against them coming into town, but every time I'd ask a question, this going back several years, I would get no answer, a lie, or a partial answer. And I guaranteed answers every time. Never got them. It kind of hit ahead of me when they came to me and said I had 13 acres on the highway. Thought they might like to put up a maintenance shed there. Would I want an option? Okay, because I wasn't against them at that time. They gave me an option that was really, really nice. Until I got to paragraph 6.25, which said I would at any time testify in any public venue in favor of that wind farm, industrial wind complex. I would furthermore submit a letter in support of them that they approved. I taught English for 5 years. I can write a letter. Further went to say that I would never publicly or privately speak against it. So anybody who has done anything with any company, that's going to be in there. Very quickly, I want to go. Doesn't matter what sweet name it is. It's by a multi-billion-dollar company. At no point should anybody, in my opinion, I'm talking about these people here, I'm talking about people I work with, which was EDPR. Should you feel like you're getting the whole story from the developer? You guys have it pretty good right now. Look at your ordinance. It's looking pretty good. There are a few things that you might want to look at, but you've got things covered that we did not have. The size, number of each turbine should be designated before any application is accepted. An unredacted safety manual should be absolutely required before anything is done. We don't have that yet because of our county board. Setbacks in Edgar County are 3,250 feet. Total times road diameter and other ones. I live 2 miles from the nearest turbine there. I have heart issues. I will guarantee you, at 2 miles, there's an effect. I worked construction for 40 years, I'm not a psychosomatic guy. There's one variable, it's a turbines. Decommissioning should be filled up precisely. 100% of costs should be 100% protected. Any argument that salvage value should be deducted should be disregarded. If it's got such great salvage value, let the company take care of it. Let them reap the rewards of all that fine stuff. It's supposed to be green energy. If so, then 100% of that material should be recycled, not put in a landfill, recycled. One of the things they say, well, we're working on this. How many of you would go into any kind of business without having a business plan to take care of your waste beforehand? But no, the wind industry does not. Do not forget the impact, electric cables underground. Do not forget about the towers. Most leases, they have, as I said before, other people said, you don't really own your property, the free use of that property. So if they want to put up solar or anything else, they can do that. And again, I'm speaking of our area, not necessarily all. Now, when you think about it, that's part of it. How's the power going to get to its end source? Where's the transmission line going to go? Whose property is that transmission? Because it's going to have to go somewhere. If you have one already, fine, but if not, you better find out where that line is going, because it will go right through your property. Wind energy is not green. Never has been, and it can't be. The deficits of wind energy are numerous. Educate yourselves. There's different websites you can go to. There are Facebooks. One of them is the Dawn Coyote, which we have gone through. The other thing, I'm going to probably not use my full 5 minutes. Every single time there's been a conflict with the township, drainage district, anybody, lawsuit. The drainage district finally settled because they could not afford to fight EDPR. Why? Because of a lawsuit. Right now, there's noise about even a lawsuit against the road use agreement that's put in place, which puts them back in there because it's too restrictive. And why is that now when it's happened? Every single time, they got the deep pockets. And you know it. So when you're doing this, guys, make sure you protect yourself absolutely all the way and don't give in.
Sure. This is probably going to be a little bit unusual. My name is Shirley Dance, and you all know I am against wind turbines. First thing on my agenda, what I really need to do, though, is to apologize to the ABC board and to Commissioner Luther and Ms. Penny. Last June 10th, there was a meeting, and I made a statement about some turbines that had been dynamited. I was wrong. I really tried to follow through with my research. I don't ever want to give anybody information that is wrong, regardless of where I stand or where you stand. I don't want to be biased to the fact that I will not be willing to be honest. My word, I truly want it to be my trust. So, gentlemen, when I told you that the turbines at Fall Mountain, Mass had been dynamited, this is not the original article. I could not find the original one. But this is, folks, is why I thought it was. And this one is in Stop These Things. It's not the original article. The original article ended at the end of this paragraph. It said, town folks have declared final and total victory as dynamite charges are laid and bulldozers are called in to demolish the source of so much utterly unnecessary misery and suffering. So when I read that, to me, and if I misunderstood, I'm sorry. I truly believed that they had been destroyed. There are many more documents on the Falmouth, Massachusetts turbines. They are still causing issues. The town is still losing millions and millions of dollars on them. They are still causing noise pollution. The lights, like the nighttime lights on it, they give off lights. So there are still issues with the turbines. But I wanted to clarify the fact I did not intentionally try to give information. I am not a professor. I am not a business person. But I honestly tried to go and do my due diligence. And that was the same way when I spoke about Mr. Punch. I kept saying that the university let him go. It wasn't a university. It was the Department of Energy. So again, I apologize for that. I do want to thank the APC board for their diligence that they put into this. They are trying, and I do think they are trying to help the residents. At the same time, I think that a lot of the residents of Vermillion County have a lot to be concerned about. I thank the gentleman for speaking about their health issues, because that's the one thing I have spoken about. The health issues, my husband and my own health issues. It's the infrasound that causes, we can't hear it. We can't see it, man, unless you have a vibration and a cup of water. But those are the things that are my concern. Those are the things people say, well, it's not real. But it is real. And I am concerned about our water issues. I received a message. A young man explained to us about our well situation, and I appreciate that. We don't know how it will affect our water. From different stories of different people, they have had their neighbors, and they're not close neighbors, their water goes bad, and then it only takes time before their water is muddy and sludgy and contaminated. That's my concern. As I said last time, I have health issues. I have to can my food. My water is my source for a lot of my intake. Concerned for our family. We have grandchildren. They come to visit. I don't want them to have worry. Was that my bell was pinning?
No, 24 more seconds.
Okay. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for, again, all that you guys do. One thing I would request, as the Edgar County did, as far as putting in the setbacks, you guys are giving us 1,000 feet to 3,000 feet. Please put in the 12.5 of the rotor blade. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Chris Pate. I live in Dane, Indiana. One of the things you guys were talking about was the infrasound, which I had no idea what it was until today, so I Googled it. It said reported effects of the inner ear, vertigo, imbalance, intolerance, and sensation, nausea, vomiting, bowel spasms, and then it resonates to your inner organs and then your heart. It's the big waves that you can't hear that affects your body. So one of the things I like I've seen right here says one of your goals is to protect residents and neighboring properties from any potential adverse visual or noise impacts. So here I have a petition. If I want to sign it, I'm more welcome to start passing around this week. So I'd like to go through this because my goal is to protect my family, our neighbors, and friends of Vermillion County. So let's start off with property value guarantee for landowners within 2 miles of the turbines. And we all don't need to lose money. And then pre and post construction water well inspections to make sure our water's not contaminated. We're not giving our kids poisonous water after this. Setbacks, 3,960 feet setbacks or 6 times the height of the tower of the turbine to prop, whichever is greater. And then talk about all the concrete and stuff. And then, so let's get to decommissioning money up front. So if these are bad, let's get the money up front. Okay, no bonds, no anything, you put it in a local bank. Let's have it so we can take out every piece of concrete rebar on our farms. And then zero shadow flicker for non-participants. Shadow flicker, if you think of it, it's like a ceiling fan, and you hold a flashlight above it. Well, you're going to get that in the morning, and you're going to get that in the evening. So, if Bob has a windmill on his property and wants to deal with it, that's fine. But he shouldn't be able to put one right on my property line that I have to deal with shadow flicker. So, zero shadow flicker for non-participants. That's all I got. Yield my time.
Who else? Let's do what? I forgot to say. Bob did the same thing. Sure, go ahead. Don't start thinking about it.
Right, I will do my best, I promise you.
Remember, we know your weak point.
So you got Kirk there as well. I'm Amy Woodard, and I just kind of went more with the health aspects of things that I wanted everyone to be aware of. I have a little bit of a different vantage point on this. My family actually owns a large amount of farm ground in Edgar County. I want to thank you guys for the broadcast that you did from there. I found it very informative. I want to thank you all for all the work you've done. It really is a lot that goes into this. I don't think people understand. And then, of course, my family actually owns property here too, so it's kind of all around me, and it's been very interesting to educate myself. The immediate things that I thought we needed to look at were the health effects of the community. I mean, our resources are already stretched thin as far as it goes with healthcare and EMTs, things like that. So I'm going to read to you exactly, this is from the National Institute of Health.gov. So just so everybody doesn't think I went down the street and got it. But it says people who live or work in close proximity to wind turbines have experienced symptoms that include decreased quality of life, annoyance, stress, sleep disturbance, headache, anxiety, depression, and cognitive dysfunction. Some have felt anger, grief, and a sense of injustice. Suggested causes of these symptoms are a combination of the wind turbine noise, infrasound, dirty electricity, ground current, and shadow flicker. There's been documented symptoms reported by individuals exposed to wind turbines, which include sleep disturbance, headache, tinnitus, ear pressure, dizziness, vertigo, nausea, visual blurring, tachycardia, irritability, problems with concentration and memory, and panic episodes associated with sensations of internal pulsation or quivering when awake or asleep. The American Wind Energy Association, and as well as the Canadian Wind Energy Association, convened a panel literature review that determined these symptoms are, quote, well-known stress effects of exposure to noise from wind energy, end quote. Noise-induced annoyance is acknowledged to be an adverse health effect. Chronic severe noise annoyance should be classified as a severe health risk. According to the World Health Organization guidelines for community noise, the capacity of a noise to induce annoyance depends upon many of its physical characteristics, including its sound pressure level, spectral characteristics, as well as the variations of these properties over time. Industrial wind turbine noise is perceived to be more annoying than transportation noise or industrial noise at comparable sound pressure levels. Industrial wind turbine amplitude modulation, audible, low-frequency noise, tonal noise, infrasound, and lack of nighttime abatement have been identified as plausible noise characteristics that could also cause annoyance and health effects. Another thing that it mentions, and I'll spare you guys all of that, it goes on to talk about the red light sleep distribution issues and how it can disturb your sleep in coordination with the flicker. Industrial wind turbines can cause human health if sited too close to residents. Harm can be avoided if they are situated in an appropriate distance from humans. The documented symptoms are usually stress disorder type diseases acting via indirect pathways and can represent serious harm to human health. Not from their website, my personal to wrap my part up. Wind turbines have obvious effects to health in a rural community where medical resources are already stretched very thin. I find it irresponsible to place these structures near our homes and businesses in our area. If these health effects weren't true issues, I don't believe people from far and wide would be contacting our local area to keep us from experiencing the same misfortune that they have. I understand wind turbines are important to the future, and I'm not necessarily against them. I'm against having them right now and risking the health of our community and the places they're proposed. If our reality with them is the same as other areas that have reached out to us, the job growth will be minimal and only temporary. In most cases, the temporary personnel are even told not to eat at local establishments for fear of retaliation. If wind has a future here, it's not near any homes or businesses, and right now that's not what's being proposed. I do have a question for the people that are in favor of windmills. How many of you actually have lived by one for an extended amount of time? I'll yield the rest of my time to you if you have anything else.
I'll take it, so give it. You should.
I gave you my 43,
Yeah, you can have the rest of mine.
but I will talk over you.
Come on, guys, don't be shy. I know we got a lot to say.
Okay.
All right.
Hello, my name is Travis Newman. I'm from Clinton. And say again.
That's a gay Clinton.
And obviously, I'm questioning. My shirt kind of questions wind turbines in Vermillion County. It is a protected Vermillion County issue. It's not out to get anybody and ruin anybody's income and livelihood. But I got a question for the APC on the whole idea of wind farm. Because agriculture, these lands are agriculture. The definition of agriculture is the science, art, and business of cultivating soil, producing crops, and raising livestock, farming. Raising 700-foot turbines in the air, that's an industrial undertaking, and I don't see how it fits Vermillion County.
Cows. Everyone I've seen have cows, all the windmill farms I've
They're
seen.
growing cows.
They have cows. They have cows all around, not growing things.
But the turbines are industrial, they are not agriculture.
Just the cow part.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I appreciate our friends from across the state lines coming over here to help us out. They're obviously not paid for. I can't afford to pay for any friends, so they came here on their own accord out of their kindness of their heart to come and help with what we're dealing with. They come from the Lincoln State, the rail splitter, and this is going to split people apart, this whole issue. So if it was just dropped, because it's not agriculture, where's it fit in the comprehensive plan? I don't see why we have to open this up, just because somebody wants to come in and make money. So who are we here for? Money?
Travis, I can answer the question you had for us
About
the agriculture. Why?
agriculture? Okay, so agriculture
No, why?
is from the soil.
Why do we have to discuss?
Okay, but I like for everybody to think about that. What motivates them? What keeps them ticking? What keeps the community together? Because These t-shirts don't represent a corporation. They represent something that came up from the ground, something from the soil. I'll end it with that. Just think about that. Thanks.
Thanks, Travis. Leonard?
Yeah, I'll give her a shot.
All right.
Leonard,
So I never know these people be this shy.
how you doing?
My name's Leonard Akers, Vermillion County resident all my life. I'm a retired construction worker. I've worked in building and in maintenance of power stations, power plants, at least 8 of them in a 2-state area. I do believe in science, and I also want to applaud this board for democracy. This is democracy in action when you get to speak your piece, so I appreciate that. I'm not either for or against it. I'm kind of neutral. I will be honest when I say I lean a little bit more toward it. I spent the entire day today in eastern Illinois. I went over to the Kickapoo State Park, Kennecut Coast County Park, went into the Middle Fork Fish and Wildlife Area, which is by Newtown and Fifth. And I come by the windmill, one of the windmills, and I stopped. I told my wife, I said, stop, let's get out of the car. And the windmill wasn't a lot farther than from here to the furthest telephone pole away. I don't even think it was that far away from the car. I hear a lot about noise and shadow flicker and what have you. We both got out of the car, shut the car off. I didn't hear a sound. I didn't hear a sound. And I didn't feel a breeze. And as far as the flicker goes, I didn't see hardly any shadow, and the sun was high in the sky. Now, it could have been at different times of the day. The shadow might have went different places. But then, coming home on 63 from 74, past the Cayuga Power Plant, I see all these brand new poles they put up for the power lines. Now, they're not nearly as high as a windmill tower, but I saw them, and some of them aren't even 75 feet off the highway. The shadow didn't even reach the highway. Now, I know the internet is a powerful tool. I'm on it a lot of you probably know that. But I also know there's a lot of good with the internet and there's a lot of bad. You know, you can find whatever you want to fit your bias. If you're for it, you can find all kinds of stuff for it. If you're against it, you can find all kinds of stuff against it. I find it strange that wind turbines have probably been around about 20 years, maybe not quite that long. And you would think the national news medias and news stations from all over the country would be saying something one way or another. I haven't heard anything out of the national news media for or against. I don't want to get into the politics of it or the money part of it. I did post a video on Facebook that I found. I watched it with a 49-minute video in Denmark, which is their total power source. Most people, if they can't hear something or say something within 3 minutes, they lost interest. But I watched the entire 49 minutes, and I found it extremely interesting, not just from the total construction of it, but the actually manufacturing the things. And they said that the one final, and it was really fascinating to watch and listen to. One thing they talked about, they had early on, they had complaints about some of the noise from the wind blades. Well, they worked on a solution, and they cut ridges in the blades to mimic nature, like an owl, because an owl has a single flight, silent flight, and they cut ridges in the blades, and then it eliminated it entirely. So I don't know what's the makeup of these blades would be, but I think there's something to be learned from that. Like I say, I'm not either for or against it. I live in town, so there's not going to be building one in my backyard. But I believe in science. And by working in these powerhouses, as as much as you hate them, I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in power plants. They're not going to be here anymore. They're shutting them down left and right. And where are you going to get your electricity from? You gotta do something. So, between the wind and the solar, that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Larry. Steve? Just for the record, this is not attached.
Oh,
Not my county.
oh, I should know
Not
that.
my county.
I forgot.
My name is Steve Eberly, and I'm director of a statewide group called New Year's 4 Renewables. So yes, I do believe in renewable energy. My grandkids are 6 generations in the next county north, Warren County. I do believe in small counties, and I damn well believe in small towns. And as a 12-year county commissioner, 35 years in county government. We built a fire station in Pine Village, Indiana, one chili supper and one hog roast dance at a time. Worked for the state, learned a lot, and we got some things done that way. As I exited county government, I wanted to talk more about rural vitality and what it takes to keep the lights on. Yeah, electricity is important, and electricity shouldn't hurt you unless you touch it. I understand that. But the big deal for me is our small counties. And what we all want good school. I was over in Dana a few weeks back trying to figure out how to drag the ball diamond. There's simple questions. Sometimes they're hard answers, but it always takes money. So yeah, I travel all over the state. I've got myself, I've got a former state agriculture person that works with me. She's in Kokomo tonight. And all due respect to the folks that traveled across the line this evening, we are subject to Indiana laws in this state. And we do have counties that have executed windmill agreements. We have a number of counties that are now executing solar agreements. This is your county. It should be your agreement. It should be your ordinance. My group, we've commissioned Purdue University, working with Indiana Farm Bureau, but Purdue's going to put up a new website come fall. And they'll list all the ordinances we can find for both wind and solar, so you can find out what's out there. But when it comes to an agreement, your leadership here, they have the hard job. When we put together, and yeah, those big distribution poles coming down 63, that's because of Jordan Creek Wind Farm, and I helped put together that 400 megawatt facility. In terms of the bad stories, just like families, every one of us can have some real good experiences, and every one of us can have some real bad ones. Here to the north of us, you can go talk to people in Warren County, you can talk to people that like it, you can talk to people that don't like it, you can talk to county government, you can talk to Benton County. They have over 10-year track record up there. White County, same way. Randolph County over on the Ohio line. I'm not going to put words in their mouths. You folks need to talk with them and see what their stories are. And you do have to make your own decision. My only reason for coming to any county is to help on the basis of my experience and the basis of what I put together to help folks understand what other questions there are inside ordinances. We've had questions about property values. Benton County has a really good track record. We shared that with the APC staff. And again, I'm not trying to bribe nobody. I'm not trying to sell nothing. I'm simply trying to provide neutral information out there. But yes, I really would encourage folks to talk to some of our Indiana neighbors, long-term government officials, long-term residents, and ask them what's happened to them. And that's what I've got to say about that. I certainly believe in the value of education about this project. I believe in the value of education about electricity in general. I can't think of one single source of electricity that doesn't have something that we would prefer not to have associated with it. Mine's a hydrant. I visited and drove by the gate at the Hanford Nuclear Preserve in Washington State. The closest box where they keep that stuff's 50 miles away. But I know we gotta have it. We got hydropower in White County, and I know there's a lot of folks aggravated because they can't run their boats because they're saving some environmental stuff. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a fact. Power companies are switching. They're switching to some mix of renewable power because now, and we commissioned Ball State a year ago to do a study, and you can say up, down, or sideways, but the fact of the matter is the utility companies somehow think they need to be buying into some of this for Indiana. So there's a reason for that. And again, I'm not telling you what to read on the internet, I'm just simply telling you what's out there. And I appreciate your time tonight, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Nobody else?
Hello, I'm Pate Sandstrom. I was invited over here by people of the community. I live in Douglas County in the wind farm over there. I live in the footprint. My house is 2,330 feet away from the closest tower. Our farm is 1750. That's from the foundation of the house, not the property line. So what I would suggest, if you guys want a setback, either tower height, blade width, or from property lines. It's only fair. Everybody wants the same rights as a landowner. I want the same rights as this guy that chooses to put up a 600-foot tower. The flicker is real. I live right there and I get it. Not every morning, not every day, but most days I can show you videos. The worst thing about them are the red flashing lights. We had to get blackout blinds for the kids. The front door on our house is frosted, so it just glows in the living room. And we have to shut doors to our bedroom, so we don't see it at night. That's what we have to live with if you choose to go with a windmill. Now, I can stand up here and say, you know, I didn't argue with my neighbors. I did. Right in my front yard, a guy showed up with a piece of paper, said, our high school and grade school is going to get $14 million. I said, that's great. I said, let me get you a pen and paper. And I wrote out $1 million and gave it to him. He said, what's this? I said, it's $1 million. He said, it's a piece of paper. I said, exactly. That's all it is right now. And they can't promise you anything. I said, look at this. You want the same rights? I know you want to make money on this. There's a little bit of money to be made. But all the money goes higher up than the landowner. Just think about that. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to you to make an extra $10,000 a year? Is it worth having your field to all the farmers, having your tile store up, and dealing with that for years? Is it? It's not. I'll tell you right now, my cousin's dealing with it. His landowner decided he wanted windmills, and he's still got ponds out in his field. It's something he has to live with. And that's his livelihood. I mean, you can't grow a crop in a pond. So that's something to think about. But I'll stick around at the end if you guys want to talk to me. I'm more than happy to show you the flicker effect. I've got videos. There is sound. No, it doesn't make sound all day. It's when they pitch the wings or when they turn them on, it's like a humming noise. So when I walk out and we make a fire in the backyard, we have to look at that and hear it. And if it's just one, it's... But if it's all of them, it's a solid... Now, can you live with that or not? That's something to think about. That's my experience. And if they're going to say they're going to bring in money to your community, our community was wrong. We didn't get any money. 2 people out of the county on the union jobs lived in the county. All the rock didn't come from the quarry. We got a quarter of the rock probably on the whole windmill job. All the hotels over in Tuscola thought they were going to be filled up. Most all the guys stayed in Champaign. So if you guys think they're going to give you money, hand over fist, just think about it. It didn't happen to us. And we're still fighting with the roads. I mean, the roads are terrible. We just had a big rain, so half of them are washed out, but we don't have anybody to fix them because we have a road use agreement that they're still fighting on. And we're still trying to get the roads fixed. So if you do the setback, make it from property lines. Make it fair to everybody. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Hold on. Ben, can you hold on or you want to go next? All right. He's got his fast talking shoes on tonight.
Can you guys hear me okay? So that's a whisper. And Caleb, not to pick on you, but when you went up north, it was Ben Hansen. When you went up north and you pulled the car over, it was less than a whisper, correct?
The decibel meter on my phone actually said it was the same level as a quiet library.
Yeah. So I don't enjoy public speaking. I have lived in this county for probably 20 years, but I believe in this project. And there's a lot of, I've sat back there and I've listened to a lot of concerns from a lot of people that don't live around here. But I have some major concerns too. And it boils down to money. This county could use some money. The landowners could use some money. In the Bible, it talks about money. Money's not necessarily a bad thing. There's quite a few different landowners that can make a lot of money off this. That is the truth. The county can make a lot of money off this. That is the truth. So, when we talk to our 15-year-old son, and he says, geez, Dad, what opportunities are going to be around this area? Chances are I'm not going to live here. You know, we take that personal. And you look around, and even in the 20 years I've been here, Mayor Jack is doing the best he possibly can, and this is the best the city's looked in the last 20 years as far as I'm concerned, but it's still in decay. We're up at Dana, and you look across the street, and it's in decay. Are wind turbines and solar going to fix everything? No, of course not. But why push away? Why get rid of that? I don't understand that. And when our 15-year-old talks to 100 different kids at school, and people say, well, they're kids, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, guess what? They're our future. Those are the kids that, a lot of those kids, they leave and they don't come back. They'll come back for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's about it. But when he talks to 100 kids at school, and 90 out of 100 say, well, yes, why wouldn't we have renewable energy? The kids are smarter than what we think. So, we've lost sleep over this thing. You know, there's people that oppose it, and I will never try to change your opinion. That's your opinion. But some of the stuff that I hear is just not accurate. You know, who would have thought that it's a shady deal. People get paid to preach against it. That's just the facts. So, y'all got a tough job ahead of you. Because to turn away millions of dollars from this county, I don't see how you can do it.
Thanks, Ben. This is my nurse. She's a fast talker.
I am, I'm sorry.
Get to the point.
My name is Megan Williamson. I'm a lifelong resident of Vermillion County. I do currently live where the proposed wind farm is suggested to go, or where the company has said it's suggested to go. They said you could throw a dart right now and be good at guessing where one of these wind turbines will go, but I'm asking you to consider if that dart landed in your own backyard, your parents' yard, your friends, Wouldn't you want them protected? That's the point of this ordinance. The setbacks are very important to protect my property and my rights and my family's health. I'm not uneducated or just showing up as a naysayer, but asking you for your consideration to the residents currently living here. This project will affect their lives, their homes. I keep hearing how much money it will bring to the county, just as he just suggested as well. However, at what cost? Are we willing to put our health and put our safety and road conditions, our water supplies in jeopardy? These are all things to consider. The ordinance is for my protection. I think people are misinformed about that as well. People, I think, have understood the ordinance as you're either for or against it. I've been to commissioners meeting, I've been to a couple APC meetings. I even did the online tutorial with the Apex company to try to get an open-minded, all-over picture from everything. With the ordinance, things for protection include noise, shadow flicker, well destruction, road protection on surfaces that get me to and from work and my kids to and from school. Do I think what's proposed currently, between that 1,000 feet, the first option, is safe? Absolutely not. It's not even 2 times the height of these structures. Please consider at least 3,000 feet, if not more. The representative from Edward County that was at the last APC meeting said the research has shown the safe distance for most, not all, is at least 3,250 feet. If I have to live within these structures, I want to be protected and not feel like I was less important than the money and the profit. What message are we giving our residents and our future generations if we're telling them that the money is more important than the beings living there? If it was going in an industrial park or in an area such as like the Rise where there's no one living, I don't think there'd be near as much opposition or pushback. On the online seminar that I attended with Apex for questions, the info that they gave said that they wanted to do things differently in Vermillion County. They wanted Vermillion County community involvement. If so, this ordinance should not be a stumbling block for them, but an outline of guidance. If that prohibits them in any way and they don't want to proceed, then they really don't want to do it the way Vermillion County wanted to do it in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I don't think she's coming up to speak. Mr. Perry? She has a food order ready next door. No, I'm kidding. She's going to bring us back chips and salsa. Margarita, please. Nope. Doggone it. Hopefully.
I'm Louis Perry. I intended to come here and keep my mouth shut tonight. Can't resist. I want to point out to the gentleman here on the commission, right on the first page of your draft ordinance, it says the purpose is to protect the residential areas and properties from adverse visual or noise impacts of wind turbine generators. And then the next item, item B, again repeats, protect the health, safety, and welfare of the Vermillion County residents. Okay, with that in mind, that, in my mind, should be your priority. It's not Apex Energy or any other energy company. And I did want to comment on the statement that was made earlier about something in the Bible about money. Well, that quote is, the love of money is the root of all evil. So people who are loving money, mostly people in the southern part of the county, in the Clinton area. If I lived in Clinton, I would love this project. Money coming in and no adverse effects to anybody around. My neighbors are good, I'm good. But I live in Dana, and we get to see these monstrosities 24/7 as they go in. Put up with the noise, just visual pollution, the lights, like we mentioned tonight, and it's just, roads tore up, lots of things. And the county, no matter what kind of protections you got in place in your ordinance, if they tear up roads or whatever they do, if you don't like it, you try to make them fix it. They say, well, we'll see you in court, just like someone pointed out earlier. They got a lot more money than the county does. But I do have a couple of questions, other questions on the ordinance. Probably won't be able to find all of them in my 5 minutes. What is, well, page 4, item 1. It says a noise study will be done, paid for by the wind developer. Well, these turbines have to be in place before they can do a wind noise study in my mind. And that's kind of late. You know, I don't understand, maybe I just don't understand what you're saying. But that looks to me like, I don't know, something that will have to be done after the windmills are in place, the tower, the turbines, and like I said, it's too late then. And on page 6, item G, interference with television, navigation, radio reception, and stuff like that. You won't know anything about that until the turbines are in place either. What do you do about it then? See you in court. I can't find it right now. I know it's here somewhere. There's something about the house, your property value, property value guarantee. Well, that horse is out of the barn already. Everybody knows there's a wind project coming here potentially, and I think that's probably affecting the property values already. I don't know how you can determine that with all the things going on in the housing market and all that right now. But I think it probably has affected property values adversely. And also, if I go out and get appraisal done on my property, it says here that the energy company will pay for it. But as of now, there is really no energy company. This is Apex specific. So who pays for property assessments? And another thing has been mentioned that these don't make much noise or very little bit of noise. Well, that may be true of one of them. If you live on the northwest corner of Dana like I live, you'll probably be able to see 50 of them at a time and hear half of them. What does that, 30 dB noise or whatever, how does that add up if you're within hearing of 30 or 40 wind turbines? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois.
My name is John Wolfall. I grew up in this county, but I don't reside here anymore. But I am a landowner here in Vermillion County. So I've been hearing a lot about it, and I came to this first meeting to get information in part because I have mixed feelings too. I mean, I hear what people say, hey, do you want one next to you, or in my case, in the middle of my farmland, for example. Yeah, you know, it makes me think about it. But I also, looking at the, shall we call it the 10,000 foot level or whatever, 30,000, what's happening? It's a national trend. Let's face it, you know, we got many people pushing the green agenda, and I don't see that stopping. It's not just any political affiliation. There may be more on one side, but it's not just one political affiliation. It's a lot of people, age-wise too, who want to go more green. You know, some of them are eating different. Now, it may be different here than it is in the city. And that's where most of the population is. And what are they doing? They're pushing the green idea. They're buying Teslas. They're buying PlayStations 5s. They're buying more computers. It's all kinds of electricity. At the same time, we're decommissioning, I think someone talked about, less coal. We're going against coal. We're against the concerns about the emissions, and we're just getting rid of it rather than trying to fix it. So there are all these trends going on that, to me, it's kind of looking like inevitable, as I heard someone else say, that, you know, are there other places? Sure, there may be other places they could go. I understand that. But I also understand not just for the landowners, and maybe that's particularly the landowners who benefit, that's true. There'll be some labor, local labor, some, but I think it's kind of inevitable. People talk about the climate change, again, that goes along with that whole green idea. There's a lot, whether you believe it or not, there's a whole lot of people that do, and a whole lot of legislators that do, at a national level, particularly. And so we're going to need more electricity. This country's going to grow. We're going to have to do something. Incentives. Well, the incentives to the landowner, they're getting bigger all the time. I mean, an aunt of mine, or excuse me, a mother-in-law who's now passed away in Boone County, it didn't go through because the county didn't go for it. That expired. But, you know, much less money than they're talking about now. They have to put a lot more money in. But it's not just the incentives to the farmer. Remember, there are incentives that are going on at a national level. A few years ago, administration was paying. You know, there was all kind. I don't know exactly what the economics are of wind right now, but there used to be money for that, for solar and for wind. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I think that it's somewhat similar to what's going on in ethanol, corn ethanol in particular. They don't pay for that anymore. What they do, it's a mandate. You got to blend it. And I think you experts will have to tell me, I'm not sure. I recall a mandate for electrical power. That's going to happen. That's inevitable. So again, that's there. I'm impressed that you all have put this together. And I'm impressed with the comments here tonight by a lot of people who aren't even for it. You've done some research, you've looked at it. Not everybody agrees, I get that, but I think it's inevitable it's going to happen somewhere. Someone else said that, and I agree. So what do you do if even you who are against it, what do? You make darn sure that the county's got some teeth here to take care of any problems. One of the concerns I had coming tonight from talking to a friend out of state, in another state, they came in, started a project, and they went financially bankrupt. So what happened? You know, you got the big chunks of concrete and all this other stuff. I noticed that there is in here in page 5, or anyway, a surety bond. Hey, jump it up. It doesn't have to be 100% of what you think that is, and I think it said every 3 years you're going to look at that. The zoning or planning commission. Look at what those decommissioning costs are and make it 120% or 110 or 130% or something. They're not going to put up the cash, but you can get a bond, and that's just as good as cash. So, but put teeth in it. Maybe there's tiling concerns. Maybe that's something else. I don't like the restricted free speech too. I understand why they want to do that. Maybe outlaw it here. A couple more points and I'll quit. You're going to improve the contract, it sounds like. I think that's good. Maybe you should submit it beforehand. Make sure you like it. I don't like the restricting free speech. I think the county needs to have, maybe not on staff, but contract an expert to help you, including a legal expert to review this. This is a great start. Good luck.
Received a postcard about the meetings upcoming. 2 weeks ago at the area plan meeting, they decided I should send out a postcard to everyone that lives in Health and Vermillion Township, including Dana and Newport. That was quite the undertaking. I can do it, pick me, I'll do it. Well, it was more than I thought, but I tried to eliminate duplicate households with the help of ThinkMap and GIS. So hopefully if you got the postcard, you only received one. But I also want to thank everyone who's here tonight and speaking and being quiet and respectful of who is speaking. This has been is a great town hall meeting. And who wants to speak next? You've already had your 5 minutes. You can have what I have. Okay, nobody else is willing to step up. Are you coming up to speak or leaving the bathroom?
No, I can say something. I think our county is in no business to set
Kirk,
regulations for something that could benefit us.
come to the microphone, please? Nah, okay.
What she said? About that.
Nobody else is wanting to talk?
I appreciate the chance to speak again. I want to emphasize, for those that aren't familiar with who we are and what we're doing here, we're broadcasting this live, so other people that couldn't be here are able to see it. That's what we do as an organization when we can. There's been some comments about people from outside the county. You're right, I'm from outside the county, but I pray to God that if the bridge is out, you let me know.
Yeah.
Okay? There are some things we've run into that are cautionary, and that's why we bring them forward. I had a discussion with my municipal mayor, and this was years ago, and it was about wind farms, and the focus was on how much money it was going to bring to that town. It was going to literally save that community. And I said, well, that's interesting because the community, the city in Illinois, and I don't know how your property tax assessment is here, the property tax goes to the area those people are paying that tax. The city doesn't get money from the people in the rural area because that's not where their property's at. Now the county does, and the school does, and the fire district does, but the municipalities don't. They get municipal tax from within the residents of their city. And that came out through a wind farm meeting when they said, you're going to make this much money, and I challenged the breakdown of assessments. The wind farms didn't even realize that. So what I asked them to provide me, and I've asked this numerous times, would you please provide me a case study where you've been and operated and it did what you claimed it's going to do? And they could never provide that financial analysis. Now for those that don't understand it, you need an ordinance, because without an ordinance, they can do whatever they want. And I'm all for a landowner doing what he wants with his ground, but it has to be balanced with, he can waive whatever those rights are. If he wants to waive the setbacks and waive all that, they have the power to do that. But you also have to understand the people next door have rights to their property line. And that's where this challenge of trying to find that balance comes in. And we went through, again, over a year of studies trying to put our ordinance together. And there's a lot of issues, and this isn't about for or against wind. This is a balance of trying to identify how it's going to work for your community. But don't be fooled to think that your cities, your primary town is going to reap that money, because that's not where their property tax is coming from. They're not going to see that. And I don't know what your tax is on wind farms in Indiana. We have legislation that assigns a value to them. And that got changed at one point, because they would come in and say, you're going to get X number of dollars per megawatt, and they sold us on that being 100% capacity. Well, they only operate at 30 to 35% capacity. So that means you're only getting 30 to 35% of what they said you're going to get. Now, your law may be different. I don't know what your law is, but those are things that I would encourage you to look at, is that assessment process and how that multiplier is, whether it's based on the size of the turbine or is it based on its production output. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
As far as the taxes go, I know it's something the assessor is getting ready to go to conference here in Indiana, and I know it's a hot topic on the conference schedule for them to, they're trying to figure all this out. They're on a learning curve. Anyone else?
I used the rest of my time.
You used all your time, Louis, indeed. You went over. What do you got, Louis? Nobody else.
I just wanted to say, the last meeting in Newport, Mr. Alexander was lamenting the fact that the decisions are made before you hear anything from the public. So there's really no public input. So I would respectfully ask him to have that public input time at the beginning of the meeting, especially on contentious issues like this. Have a half hour or 5 minutes or whatever for public input, and then they can consider it.
Okay, thank you. Pat, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're here from Apex. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm not going to come up, but I just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's really important, obviously, for everybody to have their voices heard. I found some resources to pass out if you want. I'll be hanging around in the back after the meeting. Thanks.
All right, great, thank you. Bob, you have anything else?
Yep, just
Okay.
closing it up.
You close clothes are up?
July 1st.
Nope, July 29th, or June 29th, Dana.
Okay. Just a reminder, if you didn't feel like speaking tonight or you had a chance to look over the ordinance, that's the most important thing here to look at to help us move this ordinance to final. Please look over it. We'll be having a town hall June 29th, same laid out the way we did it tonight, and then we do it again on July 1st. So please look at that. And just remember, we all took notes and we'll observe those and apply according. Again, we're not elected officials, we're just taking notes to add to the ordinance, and it's your ordinance, it's not ours. Have a good evening, thanks for coming out.
Thank you guys for putting this together.